Dallas Mavericks, the champions out of the Western Conference. Boston Celtics, champions out of the Eastern Conference. Celtics are massive favorites to win this series over the Dallas Mavericks. There's 6.5-point favorites to win Game 1. I'll predict Game 1 on Thursday's show. But this, to me, is we can get into the nuts and bolts of a series, because to me there are two things I'm really looking at that could favor one team the other. The thing that could really, really, really favor the Boston Celtics is this. Two of the biggest catalysts for the Dallas Mavericks have been who? But Daniel Gafford, who they acquired at the trade deadline, and Derek Lively, who, for the record, I loved out of Duke. I was hoping Derek Lively would fall to my Warriors. We ended up getting Pajemski, so it all worked out. But Derek Lively, who I loved coming out of Duke, who's been a massive impact player for the Dallas Mavericks. So the two bigs, Lively, Gafford. Here's the thing. So they're excellent rim protectors, great lob threats. Here's the problem. On the defensive side of the floor, where the Mavericks have been excellent, right? Part of the reason they've been so good is their shot blocking, is their interior presence. Well, if you're playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have a big and Cat who couldn't shoot for anything from outside, and a big and Rudy, who we've always known as an offensive liability, that plays in your hands. You can sink down low, you can stay in the paint, and be that rim protection. Here's the problem. Against the Celtics, who we know take a ton of three-pointers, more on that in just a second, take a ton of three-pointers. Now that you have Al Horford, now that you have Porzingis spreading the floor, all of a sudden, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, they're going to have to play outside. By the way, it's the very reason I have said for years, you can expose Rudy Gobert if you just get him on the perimeter. Been saying that for years. Well, the same can apply to Gafford and to Lively. Get them out in the perimeter. And then, by the way, it opens up the paint for Jaylen Brown, who likes to get a lot of his buckets down low. The stats in the analytics show that. Jason Tatum, who likes to attack from time to time, get his buckets down low. So that matchup could really, the Porzingis and Horford effect could really play into the Boston Celtics' hands. But on the other side, Boston has a lot of great defenders, a lot of great two-way players. I think two of them, and it will be the Celtics' choice, and in some instances, pick and roll Mavs' choice as well, but more so Boston's. Boston is going to have to pick who their offensive, where their offensive output's going to come from an individual scoring perspective. And what I mean by that is somebody's going to have to guard Kyrie and Luka. Well, you sure you want to put a Jason Tatum on Luka Doncic? Because if you put Tatum on Luka, Tatum is going to give you significantly diminished returns on the offensive end, and you can't win a series if that's the case. So my belief is, for Boston, you put Drew Holiday on Kyrie, understanding Drew is not going to be very good on the offensive end. And then I think at that point, you decide Jaylen Brown, Derek White. Better yet, I actually say put Drew Holiday on Luka and put, do we have the background music back on again? Put Drew Holiday on Luka and put Derek White on Kyrie. That will then therefore say, okay, Tatum, Brown, you don't have the biggest offensive or defensive responsibilities. Just go get us buckets, play solid defense, get your hand in the passing lanes, be effective on that side of the floor. But we need Tatum to give us 30. We need Brown to give us somewhere around that ballpark as well, because Drew Holiday and Derek White will not be amazing on the offensive end in this series the way they have been at times throughout the playoffs. So those two matchups will favor the Celtics in one way and the Mavericks in another. To me, where the series is decided. It's pretty simple to me. Steph Curry's changed the game in a major way, where if you don't have excellent three-point shooters, you're pretty much cooked. It comes down to Boston. Boston doesn't take a lot of shots at the rim, which I think they will in this series because of the situation I talked about earlier with Gafford and Lively. If the Boston Celtics, shoot the lights out from three, they will win this series. If they don't, because again, Boston's an excellent three-point shooting team if they get the right matchup. If they don't, my gosh, that plays into Dallas' hands, because they can get the long rebounds, get out in transition. That's where they've been very effective in the second half of the season. For the record, sort of referencing the second half of the season, we can show you, again, the idea that Boston has this massive advantage over the Dallas Mavericks, I think is an idea in people's heads and not an actual reality. because, I saw this. If Boston loses this, if the Mavs win this series, it would be the third biggest upset, according to Vegas, third biggest upset in finals history since the merger. Number 1 is Lakers-Pistons 04. Number 2 is Warriors-Raptors in 2019. Well, Lakers-Pistons 04, the Lakers freaking hated each other, Shaq and Kobe, to be specific, and the Lakers lost almost all their forward depth. In 2019, the Warriors lost almost all their depth. KD played like 12 minutes in the series. Klay missed game 3. Missed the fourth quarter of game 6 where he was going crazy. Steph was beat up. Iguodala was beat up. Like, it just wasn't meant to be. So if both teams are healthy and Boston loses, I don't look at it as this, oh my gosh, upset. Here's why. Put up the numbers. All stats provided by our friends at StatMuse. All graphics provided by my buddy Alfred Parso Jr. With their best starting lineup, the Mavs and the Celtics. Look at this. The Mavs have a better record than the Celtics. The Celtics have a better net rating than the Mavs. The Celtics have a better offensive rating than the Mavs. But the Mavs have a better defensive rating than the Celtics. We talk about the Celtics. Oh my God, Derek White and Holiday and Tatum and Brown, all these defensive stoppers. It's Dallas who has improved that side of the floor in large part because they've gotten Kyrie. They've gotten Kyrie and Luka to buy into that side of the floor. I think we're going to see a lot of road wins in this series. A lot of road wins. Because this is the first time I saw stats, first time in I forget how long, where two teams come into the finals with better road records than home records, which is hard to believe. I've talked about the Celtics struggling at home. Well, the Mavericks have been much better on the road than at home. It's going to be tight. We're in a lot of close games. And because of that, if it comes down to closers, then I'm going to roll with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Give me the Dallas Mavericks to win the 2024 NBA Finals in 6 games. Luka Doncic wins Finals MVP. Kyrie Irving cements himself as one of the greatest number 2 options in the history of the NBA. Dallas Mavericks win the title in 6 games over the Boston Celtics. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.